For this week's Smith Business Close-Up, we're on location here at the University of Maryland. Our guest is Paulo Prochno, who is a professor of management and organization. Sir, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Our focus is Brazil's economy, and the reason to talk about it is that it's not been doing too well.
Yes, I wish I could have a good message about Brazil's economy. I'm originally from Brazil, but yeah, things have been pretty rough in the past year or so, and there will probably be still, I mean, this year is gonna probably be very bad also. Recovery is coming only 2017 onwards, at least.
And Brazil is going to be on the world stage very prominently with the Olympics coming up.
Yes.
What's the impact of that?
The impact of that, I don't think that the current economic problems will have a huge effect on the Olympics. A lot of the Olympics, the works that they had to do, they are already done or they're close to completion now. And so that won't have an impact on the event per se, although the event will be, they had to downscale, to downgrade it a little bit, so they're not doing as much as they wanted, but that won't have, I mean, Brazilians are good at kind of organizing events like that. The World Cup was very successful, and not necessarily in the operational perspective, but in the party perspective, receiving people, welcoming people, and people having a good time. So that I don't see any problems for the Olympics per se. But the country has huge problems, economic problems, that will take a long time to solve.
Now, what's the root of that? We think of Brazil for a number of things, but one of them is as a natural resources play. And a big business partner was China, which of course is slowing down. Is that part of it?
Yeah, that's the first part of that. And as I like to say, it's like almost like a perfect storm. There are three different things going on that all came together more or less at the same time and created a huge problem for Brazil. The first thing is what you mentioned, the China going down, and Brazil is a big exporter of iron ore and other commodity products. So it's not only China, but the whole prices of commodities is going down throughout the world, so that had an impact. But that alone would not bring the economy down to the extent that we see now. There were two other factors, internal factors. The first one is a very positive one in the long term. It's corruption is finally the judiciary system is going after corruption cases, and they're persecuting people. There are important politicians that went to jail. There are CEOs of companies that went to jail. So finally that problem is being addressed in Brazil. And that's something that the country needed, and if you think about those things that are being done now, they will have a very positive impact in the long run.
But in the short term, you're saying it's disruptive.
Yes, because now some of the major construction companies, for example, they couldn't do any government work anymore. They couldn't work for the state companies, and the whole you have less investment. There is a environment of uncertainty. We don't know where those the whole process, what will be the end result of that. So that created a short-term uncertainty that contributed to the economic problems. There's still a third problem, internal one, that is the government made some bad economic choices in the past 4 years, and especially this idea of picking national champions and kind of favoring some companies instead of trying to create an environment where entrepreneurs and companies can thrive. Was just favoring some sectors of the economy, and that created distortion in the allocation of capital in the economy. Now we're seeing the problems of that after a few years trying to follow that policy. And so you have those three things coming together and creating huge issues for the country.
What are the prospects going forward? Is it possible that the Olympic Games do what perhaps the country was hoping when it applied for them and gives Brazil a boost?
I don't think that would even come close to helping to solve the problems, because a lot of the problems they really, I mean, if you look more structurally, one of the big problems in Brazil is supply, is efficiency, and now companies are starting to realize that, and they're trying to invest more in efficiency. During the crisis, now everybody's trying to cut costs and find better way of doing things. So this is a process that the Olympics, I think, won't have a major effect on that. Of course, it has an effect of people feel better, and they will boost morale, and also people's perceptions of the economy is an important element in economics. So the Olympics could have an effect like the World Cup had. I mean, people were happy and things were, but at that time Brazil was booming, so that was a very different situation. So that could influence a little bit the psychology of the economic actors. But problems are there, the root problems, they still need a few years.
We haven't talked about the Zika virus. Is that a factor?
That is something that was completely unexpected as well. So there was this, but the mosquito that is responsible for the Zika virus also brings dengue fever and chikungunya. So there were two diseases that were there. Dengue fever has been in Brazil for the past now 15 years. We have had outbreaks every year. So Zika is a new thing, and there's still researchers still don't know exactly the possible consequence of that disease. What we know currently is that it's not a major problem except for pregnant women. That is a huge problem. But it's not a major problem compared to dengue, for example. Dengue is worse as a disease. And there's not a good way to fight except fighting the mosquito. A vaccine is probably few years down the road. So it's not that they were going to solve the problem by vaccination soon. So Brazil is trying now to fight the mosquito, but that's hard. And that's something that the good thing is that the Olympics happens during the winter term, and the winter term usually the mosquitoes die and it's too cold for them. So that won't hurt the Olympic Games at least.
Very good. Paulo Prochno joining us here at the Robert H. Smith School of Business. Thank you very much.
Thank you.